couple things. So again, this is something unusual that we normally don't do because we kind of moved to a one-on-one meeting format to really help you guys meet partners, new partners, existing partners. But there's been a big thing in this industry, and obviously, many of you guys know, and that's why you're here. It revolves on, we were talking a moment ago about R2. And R2 is something that's been known in this industry: recycle, reuse, and BrokerBin really is part of that reuse side of the fence. And obviously, that's why you're here. And we did something in Prague unusual, which was just a kind of a table discussion, right? And it led to a lot of interest, and people want to know more. And so we want to step that up again, and we want to continue this conversation. And so today we're having a kind of a panel discussion, and we have three gentlemen from that ITAD side of the fence here. First of all, Mike Easterbrook, right? Easterman, sorry, apologize. Okay. Now, I brought stuff, Sustainable Electronics Recycling International, SERI. So he is the director of SERI. And he has somebody join us. R2 standard. Oh, the R2 director, apologize. And then, of course, we have Mr. Dave Manning from Iron Mountain, from the ITAD side of the fence. And Brian Musil, also R2B3, from Big Data Supply. So I'm going to start with that. And then I guess let me start with this. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about SERI?
Sure. Yeah, so SERI is the organization that hosts the R2 standard, amongst other things. So the R2 standard is developed by a multi-stakeholder group of people from the facilities, R2 facilities, customers of the facilities, OEM, retailers, as well as like public interest, government agencies, governments, certification bodies, consultants, and they all work together to come to consensus and develop the R2 standard. R2 director. I'm helping lead and facilitate that role. We just finished our transition to R2B3 on June 30th, 2023. So we're not looking at developing a new standard right now. We're in maintenance mode, kind of helping people with knowledge and education of best practices of how to implement the standard. We have a knowledge base on our website with that helps with that. So that's, I think, enough for now.
And I have some questions, but let me go on to the next person in line. Here's Dave Manning from Iron Mountain. Dave, can you tell us a little about your company, and can you tell us a little bit about your specialty? Okay.
Jennifer of Iron Mountain, we're one of the largest security companies in the world. That is a lot of people, but we keep data. It's data storage or data destruction, and or anything as things as diverse as like electrical environment, transport equipment, facilities. We keep music masters for a lot of the major music publishers. So like, he told me that we hold Prince's music master, the masters. Keep that in a secure facility. And we've been around for about 70 years, and storing boxes and shredding paper is a good business, but the future isn't paper. It'll be secure outside. What I do for Iron Mountain is hold that. We're working with our clients to look at secure IT assets. How do we bring it in? How do we control the process? How do we remarket? How do we do it effectively? How do we work with the how do we, at the end of the day, how do we recoup the most value we can for our clients and as a business for us? I've been part of Iron Mountain family for about 2 years. Before that, I worked with her 2 years. That was purchased by Iron Mountain to help facilitate this growth. A lot of what I'm going to say today is my fault. I've been in this for about 25 years. I work for Iron Mountain, but I'm not the official Iron Mountain representative. This is a sales conversation. So we're going to talk about how we go to market and what I've learned, what I've seen.
Okay, the next is Brian Musil from Big Data. Brian has a little bit of a unique story of how he became in this ITAD industry, so we will leave up to Brian to introduce himself and talk a little bit about that. So.
Brian, founder and CEO of Big Data Supply. 20th year in the industry, 10-year anniversary. Big Data Supply is R2B3 certified ITAD company. based in California, worldwide. We focus on data center decommissioning, so we did all aspects of it, hardware. But what makes us a little more interesting is our expertise in tape storage and data taking. We do on or outside data destruction with our buyback program, and we have a full line of refurbished tape media.
I think what's unique about Brian is he really started from the tape industry. And those opportunities he learned from dealing with others recyclers led to more and more opportunities. And that's how he moved into that sector. So he really comes from your side, or at least from the resale side, into that sector. So let me ask you a question, and this is like, why be certified in this business?
Well, when you're dealing with data, and tape kind of moved from the small, mid-size, kind of all to the hyperscalers and the bigger end users. Nobody's going to really trust you if you're not certified or correct diligence.
Well, let me give it a shot. Let me ask you this question. Because we get it all the time. We get people, oh, I'm ITAD. Everyone says they're ITAD. But what's the, why be certified as an ITAD R2 or R2?
It really depends upon your customer requirements that you're going after. But you see a lot of OEMs, enterprise businesses requiring certification. So if you want access to that material, like the base and entry in there is being certified to R2 e-stewards, Weeblex in Europe, or Cinelex standards. So, that's kind of the trend. Those who have a lot of the material or a lot of the good material require that.
And let me ask everybody, are your clients asking you if you're certified? So that's going to be important. And it could be different certification, like you said. It could be Word or an R2, 3. And I want anybody who has any specific questions about a specific thing, by all means, just raise your hand and we'll get you involved a little bit, right? So let me ask this next question. How would you describe, better yet, let's start with you. I'm sorry, with Iron Mountain. Sorry. Can you explain the state of the IT market today and some of the conditions that you're seeing?
How much time do you have?
What's that?
How much time do you have?
Well, how about a couple minutes?
Yeah.
I'm sure we can elaborate on that.
That's how I like this. Why do the big guys ask, or big Fortune 500 companies say, are you RTB? Are you following these standards? And a lot of it has to do with how they're reporting to their shareholders. We're doing everything we can to protect the environment, or to make sure that things don't end up being greenwashed. Because when that happens, when a hard drive from Target Corporation shows up in the street market in Thailand, that makes Target look bad. So ultimately it's PR, but it's also about how a company wants to present themselves to you. So when you talk about the IT asset industry, if you want to provide the services to a company, they don't ask you to be or to be concerned about it. You're buying product and you're selling. But if you are R2B certified, you agree to play by those rules. And the most important rule that you agree to follow is that if you're going to send product to another processor, they have to be R2B certified as well. So you're establishing this chain of good intentions. The road to good intentions, they say what the road to hell is paved with, but everyone's trying to do the best thing. Mistakes happen, and they become personal. It doesn't matter if you've got certification. But that's kind of a thing to provide you with like the overall guideline. Why do we do it? Our customers. Why do our customers ask this? Because they want to make sure they're doing the right thing, because nobody likes bad press. The old adage that all press is good press. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. Especially when we're talking about privacy rules. If a major health insurer lost control of a storage array that had patient data on it, social security numbers, that stock price could tank over. That has happened. But what it does, to answer Bob's question, is it helps structure what we talk about as the IT asset disposition market, and how it filters down to people who are maybe not in the RTB3. I'm going to buy a product that I'm selling for resale. I can sell to anybody in this room. If buy a scrap product, that's going to be very specific for things I mentioned. But if you look at the food chain, there is a food chain. You know, I don't know if ITAD's here. Sometimes we're here, most of the time we're here. Sometimes we're here. We end up getting large quantities of larger processors. You're trying to both mitigate the customer requirements, process fast and efficiently, with not destroying a market that many other people have a share in. And sometimes there are ITAD companies that do not care. Their goal is expediency and the market around a particular item that crashes. You see that all the time. Sometimes, if, you know, how I like to do business is we try to warn people. Someone says, hey, I'll take everything you have. You don't want everything. You don't want to do that because you don't want to lose your business. You don't want to be stuck with something you can't sell. I think the scale of what we do at that low end, high end is almost outrageous. Sometimes it's handleable, sometimes people understand it, and the world commodity market can absorb much more than I ever thought possible. So right now, the market is chaotic. We've all seen it. You know, 2022 was the party, 2023 is the hangover. We're just sobering up now. People might be a little bit better, maybe. But, you know, I don't think anyone would be here if they weren't looking for some more answers about the market or they wanted to find new customers. But
That's excellent. Anyone want to elaborate on that?
I just wanted to say that, like, you know, companies looking at brand protection and data security risks and regulatory compliance, ESG reporting is huge for a lot of these companies. That plays a huge role in whether or not you have the ability to give them like scope 3 reporting stuff for them. You know, like whether you can do those things to help them support their uppers, you know, the shareholders and those who they're reporting on. So that made a huge difference in qualifying an ITAD.
I'll explain these to you.
Oh, okay, sorry. How much time do we have?
Exactly. You can just
So,
use it.
I'm sorry, one of my pet peeves is using an acronym. ESG is environmental, social governance, and it's the reporting that's required from some public companies and a lot of countries around the world, Europe and various places, I think, 40-something countries around the world require it. But basically, it's looking at how your risks are in that area for investors and shareholders. So like the environmental one is looking at your carbon footprint. What are you doing there? And social is looking at social things, like what kind of things are you doing to give back? How are you treating your workers? And governance is all about quality and risk aversion and how you're doing that to kind of properly manage your business. So that investors, as well as like some regulators and countries, are looking at these things, how well a company is performing. So they're needing to get information from their downstreams or the ITADs in regards to, like, is their carbon avoided? So reuse is a perfect example of that. You're extending the useful life of electronic equipment. So with that being done, you're avoiding a carbon footprint. You're putting it back out to the reuse channel, but that has to be done in a way to protect.
So that's an interesting standard, and let me ask you this question, because when it comes down to following those rules and being certified, does all your downline need to be certified for selling this product, or are you finding that?
Well, I don't know that's how we do it, but anybody jump in?
Alan?
Not necessarily. I mean, we do want some sort of industry certifications, whether it's NAID or ISO 14 or what have you. But no, they don't have to be certified, but they do have to. And the life product has to go to an R2 downstream that is certified, so or recycle back to us, for instance. But no, not necessarily. But they do have to have some sort of standard when they're dealing with data. So,
If we have
So
containers
far.
full of like shredded hard drives, we're not going to just have someone back. We want to make sure we know exactly how much weight, who took it, what did they recover from it, and to not just end up So that's one way we would say, you, the person we're going to choose for that process, is not also be that. I want to sell tape drives. Well, Brian can sell anybody who wants a tape drive. That's a reusable item. It's not something that's going into potentially landfill or an end of life situation. Right?
So from a reuse perspective, I'm a layman here. You're not seeing a lot of people, requiring a lot of those people.
Not at all. I mean, I think the technical standards is ready for use.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Is there any liability from selling that? Do they go back to somebody? If it lands up in the landfill?
That's a good question. I think, again, you look at chain of custody. I sold and Bob, and Bob threw one out of his car window driving home, and they found it. I said, "Why sold these to Bob? We didn't throw it out." So it's, again, and we kind of touched on this. I should talk about fraud. It's data, and not just like my customers' data, but like, what did you do with this product? But when it entered your work stream to when it exited, who touched it, who had it, how much did you play, what did you get for it, who did you sell it to? And that's information that we provide back, or any ITAD, we provide back to their client. Here's a life cycle of what we did with the product. We may not tell them what it sold. That's our. But we can say with confidence, this serial number went to this location. So if it ended up someplace else, it's not where we shipped it. It's not to the person we sold it.
So let me ask you, moving forward, if somebody's not an ITAD, sitting in this room looking to become it, what would you say the opportunities or the processes involved to move in that direction? I'm not sure, and Brian or anybody who can answer that. Anybody in this room, please.
Let's flip it. Anybody thinking about it? You decide, I want to be an ITAD. You sat through a couple days of meetings, you see someone's wearing this green thing, you heard about it. Well, first of all, who's an ITAD right now? Who's doing this right now?
We are certain, but we're not using it.
Okay.
So you're a recycler.
But you're
You
still
get all the
managing.
same thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes.
Asset disposition.
Asset disposition. Anyone can be an ITAD. Mike and the R2D2 standard of Shepherds and SERI, they want you and they want anybody to work with them in their values because it's good governance. It's good for you. But that doesn't mean you can't put your shingle out and say, I'll buy your stuff and resell it. That doesn't mean you're an ITAD. It means you bought something and you sold it. If you choose to work outside of that structure and pick some equipment up from a local hospital, and on the news a week later, they found, a digital X-ray machine in your backyard that has people's information on it, it's going to look bad. But you didn't violate any rule. You just put a digital X-ray machine in your backyard. So, being a rudimentary ITAD is you're going to take out product from someone and you're going to sell it. It's when you want to start working with larger companies, or you want to, that's when you identify yourself, but make sure you're doing the right thing for your client, and you go down the road and start looking at, is our internal process to handle equipment or to track data, is it sufficient? And we've all worked for companies where, the accountant ran everything on a spreadsheet, or we exported some printout from QuickBooks and we gave it to our tax accountant, they figured it out for us. That's not what I mean. It's got to be much more rigorous. It's got to be much more complete, and it frankly costs a lot of money. It can be very costly to get into the game, but get in the game and you establish your presence. And most importantly, you have a great customer relationship, and they ask you to do it. That's why we're here. We're here to make a living for our family, for ourselves, for our own company. We want to sell it someday. And your customers are asking, are you RTD certified? The answer is, we're looking into it. Because why wouldn't you? So I guess, not to push everybody away from that, I think there's a lot of opportunity. But, notice that please note that it's certainly not a get rich quick. The company I worked for that was purchased by Iron Mountain was a 22-year-old family company. Started with one guy. I heard some great stories today about how some companies that were here started very slowly. One person buying one product and getting hooked into this business. And they grew, and they found more customers. They offered customers the one thing they wanted: peace of mind. Hey, we should really do this. We should be RTD free. We should offer this. The clients ask me, can we write 10,000 drives by this weekend? Sure. and we did it. We've never done it before. So the point being, it's not an overnight thing. It can be very lucrative, and that 22-year-old family company sold for a very large number. I mean, a lot of people, very wealthy, a lot of people stuck with us, a lot of them left. I was not there from the beginning, that's why I'm here. But it's that is like a family business story. Family business success story as far as did everything right. Were there hiccups? Yes. Were there problems? Yes. But at the end of the day, they won. It was great.
Those companies that are looking for somebody who's certified are willing to pay the cost. So like they'll pay for their brand protection, for the data security, for their regulatory compliance. That they know that there's a cost to do things right, and they understand that. And so the rigor of qualifying somebody that's gone through a third party certification is kind of like how they know. Like with R2B3, ITAD facilities are certified usually to Appendix B for data sanitization, which shows that they have a process in place for logically sanitizing or physically destroying devices or both. And it's been independently looked at, audited, and certified, and that they're audited to Appendix E for test and repair, that they have quality and robustness and ability to track each asset that comes into that facility, that it's leaving in a state that's functional. So if it's functional, who's gonna, not to say people won't throw it in the landfill, but it's a functioning product. There's value on it on the secondary market. So that's the rigor of going through those certification processes that the facilities want you to have.
So it sounds like to me, becoming and moving in the direction of ITAD is really about processes, organization, and then the certification is really the next level of processes and providing the documentation back. So that's the challenges that you're going to have to face in going this. So it's just not the process of an inventory system; it's the process of breaking things down, all across the board. Right?
But yeah.
You would just.
Well, we were talking about that earlier. I was just like, we were on the fence for years to do it, and we finally did it. There was a lot of growing pains. Changing all your processes from beginning to end. More documentation than you ever thought you needed to do. So, but once you get, we're a few years into it now, and
But even the process from collecting the information, or gathering the stuff from the client, documenting it, bringing in the house, wiping things, all that documentation, and ultimately it goes up to resale, right? First round.
so like you're saying, it does cost you more, but it's a value add to your customer. You're no longer gonna just fight a highest bid wins it. You're gonna add some value there.
I'm one of those bubble guys. Okay, what are these process step 1, step 2, step 3? Can someone help me understand what that means? So first you have the client relationship, and he asks you to take that. What's your first step? I guess not to get too granular.
Just on a buyback is really simple purchase order like you would any other deal.
So you get like a list of bill of materials or serial.
Yeah, typically we'll get a list. We also do sort and settle too. They don't send a truck, and we'll take it in and sort it. Then once we sort it, and log every serial number, report that back to them. Then we can process it
And figure out what's in the box. So before you can even figure out what's in the box, what the resale value is, that's the first step. And I think we talked to this. I don't know if you were with us in that conversation. Oh yeah, we were right before this meeting about odd things you guys get.
Odd things.
Be aware if you're going to be in the ITAD side or recycling side, and taking everything out of that data center or that office, you're going to get a variety of other things.
I I've seen contracts for so I work for a company that has this opportunity. One of our clients runs data centers. So they have 4 wheelers that they take to vacation. And one day, what are we doing here? And we found somebody local to buy it. I mean, again, the point is, we're providing a service to the customer. Now, a four-wheeler isn't like, it doesn't necessarily need data security needs that a server farm does, or data center does. But, we've got they'll say, oh, we know where it came from, they're low miles, great condition, they're going off the data center property. But when you sign up for things like that, you really do sign up for it. And that's part, I think, the important part of understanding the process. It's not transactional in the same way that buy-sell is transactional. I've worked with places where you have an account for years. And if you have a great relationship with that client, they both understand the process and get to the next standard, as well as just like it's a very manual business. I have seen 50 trucks a day. You have to get all that gear off the truck. You start processing. You need space, you need people, and more importantly, you need processes to decide where to start. For inventory. We have groups, we have facilities all over the world, and when we open our newest facility in Kansas, literally right before COVID, we brought in some guys from Sweden that had helped us with similar processes. Up near the Arctic Circle, supporting a data center that was there full. And these guys come in, and they're big suites, and they have custom clothing, because in Sweden it's the law that you, as an employer, provide the appropriate clothing to work in, if it's not like a office job. So it's like super tough gear, and they look like a cross between like Mad Max and sanitation workers. It was crazy. But these guys came in, they were going to show all our new guys we just hired how they would take a lap. And you start from the beginning, they're scanning, drilling, working as a team, talking in Swedish as fast as they can. And it still to this day amazes me. They had devised their own process to run through the roughly 28 assets per server, 40 servers per rack, times 50 to 60 racks. One guy did this job, that guy did this job, that guy did this job. And, this kids from Kansas are like, what do we do? What is this? And it was one of those things where you realize, okay, when you start processing stuff, if this is the business you're going to choose, you get to decide how you do it. There's best practices out there. But these Swedish guys, this was the way they did it. Nobody else could ever learn to do it the way they did. It was not in their DNA. They worked as a very tight team. Culturally, whatever you want to call it, that's how they do it. So I guess, the roundabout point I'm trying to get to is that even though you're going to offer these services to your client, even though it's going to cost you money, you still have to help develop internally what makes the most sense. As Mike alluded to, it costs money to do. It costs money to get to that point. And hopefully you have a great partnership with the client to do this so they understand, it's not just like we're doing everything. Sometimes it's close, but they do realize, and certain clients will always realize this, it takes time and it takes effort to have someone scan as hard drives. It's not free. And sometimes, when markets are down, those profit margins get small. When markets are up, things look good. But that's part and parcel with the game.
Rob, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Dave, when we were in Prague, that conversation was a good one, and I remember specifically you had kind of telling the difference between white glove, right? Huge cost.
Yeah.
But if that's what they want, then we can deliver that
Right.
for $10,000 versus remarket it.
Yeah.
And then you've got two chains basically
Absolutely.
that you can actually take. But really, that's the qualification part of the
Well,
question.
and like anything, we let our clients, our customers drive how to go to market. So if someone wants you to go in to a data center and keep everything out, don't disturb the other clients, what have you, that's going to take time and money. If you don't have that ability, you're going to find someone to do it. You have to determine, how much do you want to spend and how much can you charge. If they say, yes, come grab it, we don't care who shows up, okay, you've obviously told me that you don't value this. But there's not this and this. There are myriad ways to cut up that service off. It's what the client requires. I guess the message again and again and again is, what does your client ask you to do? What does that customer ask you to do? You have the relationship, and I don't care about certification. I don't care about what facilities you have. I don't care about anything. The most important thing, you have the client's trust. And with that, you can do anything. You can offer any service because they trust you. Once you break that trust, once you make a mistake, they can't fix it, but once you tell them, "Oh, never going to do this anymore." So, but we all know in this business that once you have the client's ear, once they understand what you can do for them, they'll want to work with you because it's going to make their life so much. Because they have people, they report to her saying, "How's that ESG report going? I'm waiting for our ITAD to help me out."
Good stuff. And that's a good thing, a good point. Does anybody have any questions? I want to encourage you, because I'm sure there's got to be some questions in particular business models you may have, you want to ask. Have it been you, Ellen?
I'll ask Mike a question. You say that you guys are talking about the Fortune 500s understanding what your standards are that you're following, whether it's R2, Easterbrook, what have you. How do they, as complex as it is for us, and we're in it every day, how do they understand that truly what that means?
That's what part of what we're trying to do is like your customers are kind of the people that we're talking to,
Sure.
going to conferences, trying to explain it, and it's something that's very technical and breaking it down to basic things like risk aversion, brand protection, data security. So they don't need to know all the technical details because they're not implementing it, but they need to know what that's doing is that when they send it to a certified company, they're getting the peace of mind to know that it's a rigorous process that is verified and audited by third party that gives them some peace of mind and some assurance. So we're trying to go, IT asset managers like ITAD conferences, like Circularity, talking to big brands and enterprise businesses and educating them on what it means to be certified so that they hopefully give business to those certified companies out there.
And those requests will be coming from investor relations groups within like large Fortune 500. But if you're not working with Fortune 500 companies, maybe you start the conversation with them. You know what ESG means? Because maybe they have. Maybe there's an impact. We talk, we're across the United States, across the world at this point. And we all have customers for like maybe it's a school district, maybe it's some other public entity, but maybe it's also like, hey, large manufacturing. And everyone's hearing the same things. Everyone's facing the same problem. What do I do with all these Chromebooks? What do I do with all these monitors? It's not going to be something that you're going to resell. How do I get rid of this? I don't want to take it down to the dump. Because that's not right. And the dump, hey, the dump, nobody cares. But it's not right. That the asset tag for regional hospital number 5, and you're going to call someone, hey, I found this. That doesn't make anybody look good. So even if it's not being directed from the top down, it may filter from the bottom up. The person that if you're talking to a person or the physician or the tech guy or whatever it is, and it's just part of the conversation.
Also, another thing is, at least on the OEM side of things, a lot of them are getting the Energy Star certification. Like part of their certification in manufacturing requirements is that they have take-back programs for recycling that require these certification standards. So the OEMs at least have a little bit of knowledge about that because of these programs that they're also getting certified, their brand certification.
Anybody else? Let me ask you a question, because we talked about this question about OEM, they want the white glove service, which is not OEM. But the people just want the resale. How are you figuring out value and all this stuff? You got so much stuff coming in, you got to figure out what it is. And some of the stuff that you're getting, how in the world do you figure out what's it's worth or what you give them back if it's a revenue share?
Well, Brian mentioned sort of settle, which I think is most ridiculous. If you don't know what you have, I can't tell you what it's worth. But when it comes in, if you trust us, we'll give you a full audit. Here's everything, and this is what it's worth. If you read that number, great. If you don't, come pick it up. It's pretty simple. But I think for when you're looking at programmatic business, we face this all the time. And we've got 10,000. This is what we think their big is. And I work with a lot of people in there. We talk about downstream, which is where the product goes. Upstream is how we bring it in. And I've got a lot of sales reps that they don't know anything about this So like, oh, they said they have some laptops. Great. Do you know what they have? No. Well, this is what you need. This is the work you have to do. We use historical data, but there's also public, I can base things on BrokerBin listening. Oh, there's 30 people that have this product. It looks like it sells through really well, checks in other places. Like, okay, now they want this. And that value is always interesting, right? Because if I want to buy something from Tim Powers at X-Bike, and he's at $500, my customer isn't getting $500. Because in order for me to make money, who is either willing to pay $500 or some variant thereof between my cost and what the market may be. So in my universe, I have to enable my customers the opportunity to make money. They can't make money while they buy. So market, a former manager of mine told me, it's like, market is not the line. Market is a million guys. Market to one person, one item is this. You want 10,000 of those? Yeah. You are wholesale. So you have to, it's a lot of it's guesswork because we have to guess.
Wholesale mentality.
Yeah, but it's also like, again, you kind of hope the investment costs you. And sometimes they're like, why do you only get X for this? Like, what are the market conditions that dictate why we only got that? And, if you've worked in the industry a long time, you know that you always see the same part numbers out there. It's not just, I'm not just getting it from you, I'm getting it from you and him and them and blah, blah, blah. And so it's every day is different. Every day is different.
Well, I think everybody knows that use BrokerBin is always a moving target, for whatever product number. So if you guys recognize that as well, so as the buyers are coming in, bidding on that pile or that list, then you're putting it at a wholesale level. So yeah,
And then, we're here because of BrokerBin, but BrokerBin's a fantastic tool for measuring, what is expected growth, how many people are looking for this, how many people are trying to sell it, do we have any? We've got data going back 12 years. No system really touches their work. But, we still know that, tens of millions of pieces of items or pieces of gear left, and we can track the story. Industry doesn't predict the future, but it's a pretty good indicator.
So let me ask this question. How can a normal BrokerBin reseller or person be more effective sourcing from an ITAD? How can they, or from organizations like yourself, asset disposition, recyclers, things. So how can it be more effective finding you on BrokerBin? Well, because most of my ITAD guys don't list anything on BrokerBin.
Yeah, we do, primarily because we have a broad range of products. Again, we talked about that like multi-level market. I have a commodity. I've got 1,000 out there. Price. Or it's a little bit less. If you're stocking them, maybe you're not. But if it's, if you're trying to work with me, understand that I work with the time. What are you going to bring to the table? What do you want that nobody else wants? And it's really easy. If you want something or I have something you need, let's talk. We can come to a decision that makes sense for us. Great.
Because as a rep, and Bob will attest to this, because when we come here, I want to meet, some asset disposition companies who deal in networking gear, gyms, for example, right? You want to find those lists. You want to meet people like that. How can these guys, I guess what I will encourage everybody, if you are an ITAD or if you're certified, make sure people know that. Put it on BrokerBin, because people would search for that. They call us all the time and ask. So I can tell you there was 42 companies here who label themselves as ITAD. 25 of those companies are R2V3. I think we had 2 that are East Stewart, and there may be more, but I couldn't tell based on what they listed on their profiles on BrokerBin without doing any more research. So, those are questions that we get every day sitting in the middle. And we're really trying to help facilitate you guys to be more successful and that people migrate towards the ITAD and move in that position. But do your best to put it out there. So that's just one of my things that I get almost every day, right, Bob?
There's this, just to Rob's point, within the company profile, you can put it in the company bio, but you can also put it in a certain section. So if you need help with that, just call me or email me or.
Let them see that. And maybe eventually we'll have the ability for people, I don't know if the database will allow us or the platform to search for specific certifications, but at least people will know. Okay. So I think that's important. So in that sector, because like I said, many of these organizations don't list a thing on the platform. They're using the platform for the relationships. You know, one is one, building those relationships and getting a chance to, you know, come up and be partners. So, right. Okay, let's ask some more questions. Anybody? Someone's got a question. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What? Can you say your name?
It's Eddie with Central Play.
Hi.
I just want to your guys' thoughts on Nate. I know whenever I see a company, an IT company that or an IT company that has a Nate certification, my eyes go big. I'm like, oh, you guys reached the almost impossible. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Nate
Name
certification.
certification.
Or NAID.
Yeah. I can't speak to it because we're not. So in fact, I know for some of the, sometimes it's a struggle to get RTB3, especially at local locations, as well as we have clients who want to certify. That's fine. But if anyone here is NAID certified, I'd love to hear more about it.
We are, I have no idea how to do it.
So name,
Yeah.
name triple A.
And then you show up to the
They do an unannounced audit as part of their program. So like any of these standards, so NATE AAA certification is, it's specific to the facility, whether you're doing it at the facility or mobile, and there's different types of equipment like solid state drives, hard drives, or other type of media, paper, whatever they can be certified to. But all of these certification standards, eStewards requires NATE certification in conjunction with their standard. R2 has it built into core requirement 7 and appendix E. So with any of these standards, there's an element of data security. And that's a huge thing, huge part of certification.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, we have customers as well that we sell to that are just NATE certified, but they mainly, like Mike was saying, it's mainly data focused versus R2, where it's going to be looking at repair and recovery as well as operational setup. And so NATE, I think, is on the lower scale of the R2B3, I would say, just because it's specific to. Yeah,
I can't.
It's a little bit easier standard or method to follow, and it's easier to get, so a little less costly too. So, but R2B3 goes more towards the ITAD side, where they're looking at the whole repair recovery on multiple product lines and stuff. So it's not all data driven.
Excellent. And then, obviously, if anyone's interested in more to learn more about R2, please talk to Mike or any certifications on whatever the platform. See one of your co-managers, so we'll try to direct you in the right direction. I don't think you can speak on behalf of these stewards. But again, we encourage people about proper, disposition of assets and ethical standards. And that's what you're seeing up here. These are some of the best of the best. So I don't want to keep you any longer, but I want you, if you have any questions, go ahead.
I do have, my name is Jim Burns, R2 certified. And one of the things that I'm not sure of the whole audience, but one of the features that we found why we wanted to become R2 certified in the first place was to allow to tell the customer, not that the customers were asking whether we were R2 certified, but we would go out and say, hey, we're R2 certified, therefore we meet these standards. And the other guy may not. So it was a selling feature for us, and we found that to be very helpful. And then as time went on, we were able to get into bigger accounts, and then those bigger accounts would lead to other accounts that would then ask us, are you R2 certified? So it wasn't always that the customer was asking us, it was that we went out there and said, this is how we've taken the initiative to get certified so that we can then protect your data, protect your PR, and
It's a
make
solid
sure your
point.
name doesn't get out into the.
I would imagine, Brian, you let all your customers or potential people.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
definitely
Yeah.
up to your marketability.
Has it opened more doors for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's our whole pitch. Our sales pitch deck is R2 and what we do and what others are not doing. Helps us a lot.
Excellent. No, Tim, you are R2B3.
We're using it for the same, on that front side. Trying to impress the clients by, hey, we're doing all these extra things.
I think like from an R2, we deal with Brian as well, but it's been great business for over the years. But from an ITAD standpoint and dealing with an R2 already approved E3 company, the EH&S side, the paperwork, it's a lot quicker, a lot smoother. I think those packets were filled out with Julius like that overnight. So they're already there. They can already provide the documentation that the auditors have already asked them for, and they know what's expected of us on our end. So it makes it a lot quicker, a lot smoother transaction with trying to acquire inventory from ITAD already. So
I have,
Go ahead.
just, for BrokerBin. I think, with certification, the opportunity there that's right for your company is that like an R2 certified company is only gonna sell, it can sell functional equipment to anyone, but those are smaller margins. But they can sell like untested, like they get 10,000 laptops and they're only focusing on mobile phones. So they just wanna sell them to somebody who has more qualifications. So on BrokerBin, they can do that to somebody who's certified because they can sell untested equipment knowing that that company is R2 certified to Appendix E, being able to sanitize the data and test and compare it. So there's an opportunity to get that type of material. So
I just heard the story yesterday because our D6 media company deals with white man tape, us. So they were just shredding it for years. And once they heard we were R2, they're like, how we don't have to do, we could send it right to you and we have everything all reporting. So it's opened doors for them too.
It's funny because I know Brian's business model pretty well. Started in the tape, and tape was pretty quiet for a few years, right? And he morphed into this ITAD position, taking assets out, wiping this, large projects. And guess what's come back? Tape, right?
Yeah.
So, we mentioned talking about using your certification R2B3 or Easterbrooks effectively to help gain clients. Me and Bob talked about putting your certificates out there. I encourage you guys to put it on your POs, put it on your RFQ requests. Do that. I'll take a look and I'll talk to our team. So I think that may make a difference in separating, because we all know it's all about separating yourself. Are there any other questions, or if you have any questions individually, please come up and visit with any of the guys. Anything else? Tim, you got any questions?
No, not really. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.